11.2b, homework. Simplify the radical. Square root of 145. Now we probably want to do the prime factorization of 145. That's just going to probably make this one easier because the number's getting a little bit big. So what can I divide into 145 evenly? Well, I can divide that by 5, and that will give me a 29. Now what can I divide into a 29 evenly? Well, 29 is a prime number, so that's it. Now because of that, there's really not much I'm going to be able to do with a square root of 145. Now what about this one? Simplify the following radical. Okay, we're going to leave this 9 in front of it, but I'm going to mainly focus on what's underneath of this. So I can leave the 9, square root of 40 is 4 times 10. All right, so I can divide 40 by 4. That leaves me a 10. So I end up with 4 times 10 is 40, right? 4 times 10 is 40. Okay, so now I'm going to break that apart. Again, I'm just leaving the 9 on the outside. Square root of 4 times the square root of 10. Square root of 4 is 2, because 2 times 2 is 4. Okay, times square root of 10. Now, because both the 9 and the 2 are on the outside, I need to multiply those together, and I get 18 square roots of 10. Find the following product and simplify. We have square root of 9 times square root of 8. Now, square root of 9 is simply 3, because 3 times 3 is 9. Square root of 8 is a little more complicated in that I can divide 80 by 16. So what I could do is, and I'm just focused on square root of 80 now, is I would break that up into 16 times 5. Square root of 16 times square root of 5. Square root of 16 is 4 times square root of 5. So you end up with 3 times 4 square roots of 5. And 3 times 4 is 12, 12 square roots of 5. Over here we have simplified square root of 63 times square root of 175. All right, let's do the square root of 63. Now what can I factor out of a 63? Well, I can factor a 9 out. And what does that leave me? That leaves me a 7. Square root of 9 times square root of 7. Square root of 9 is 3. Square root of 7 is 7. Because it just stays. Over here, we're going to do the 175. What can I factor out of a 175? Well, I can factor a 25 out of 175. And that leaves me a 7. So I have 25 times 7. So that's square root of 25 times square root of 7. Square root of 25 is 5 times the square root of 7. And now we're still multiplying these, right? Now, I'm multiplying these together. So I'm multiplying square root of 3 square roots of 7 times 5 square roots of 7. All right. Okay, so everything on the outside is going to get multiplied together. So we have 3 times 5 times square root of 7 times 7, which is 15. Square root of 7 times 7 is, that's actually 49. Square root of 49 is 7. All right, so we 3 times 5 on the outside, that gives me 15. 7 times 7 on the inside gives me a 49. Square root of 49 is 7. 7 times 15 is 175. Now, this is not an accident that if you multiply 2 square roots together like this, then you just get the radicand, right? So square root of 7 times square root of 7 is always just going to be a 7. That's always going to be the case. Multiply and simplify by factoring. Now, it's also true that you could, if you want to, you could just multiply these together right off the bat. 21 times 6. The problem with that approach is it's often going to result in larger numbers to deal with, but then you only have to simplify once. The problem with the previous approach on number 10 is that if you simplify as much as possible to begin with, you will have to simplify more in the long run, or more often in the long run, but you're going to be dealing with much smaller numbers. So pick your poison. Either multiply everything through initially and then deal with larger numbers, or simplify as much as possible, but you might have to simplify multiple times. There are pros and cons to both approaches. So right here, let's say we just want to multiply everything through. 21 times 6, so we get 126, square root of 126. And we'll do a prime factorization of 126. I can divide that by 2, and that gives me 63. I can divide that by 3, gives me 21. I can divide that by 3, gives me 7. I can divide that by 7, gives me 1. So the prime factorization is that. So what we end up with is 2 times 3 times 3 times 7, where 3 times 3, put it on the outside, gives me 2 times 7. And 2 times 7 was on the inside, so that gives me a 14. So 3 square roots of 14. Over here, we have square root of, and the entire fraction's underneath, 4 over 49. Well, that's really the equivalent of square root of 4 over the square root of 49. And that gives me a 2 over a 7.